Welcome to the Young, Dumb, and in Love podcast, where we talk about all things marriage.
Our goal is to help equip you to have a marriage that is better than you have ever imagined by sharing real-life experiences, getting into the nitty-gritty, and sharing practical ways you can start today. Let's dive in. Welcome back, y'all.
Yeah, welcome back. Hey, is
Y'all.
anybody else out there, like on Instagram, you're scrolling through, you're looking at reels, and then you find yourself sending your wife or your husband like 10 or 20.
Oh my gosh. No.
20 reels.
But
and
like, hold on.
in a row, and then you're like, did you see what I sent you?
But like, where are you sending these? They're always like when you're pooping.
Yeah.
Yeah, poo reels.
Yep, they're poo reels. That's
I'm like,
what we call
oh,
them.
Julian's in the bathroom. I'm getting blown up on Instagram. Let's see.
Every single reel is about the exact same thing, and you know.
Yours that you sent to me.
That's what I'm saying, though. Okay. Anybody else deal with that? Yeah, that's me. I'm very guilty of it. I was actually looking through the ones that I've sent her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I am ridiculous.
There are a lot. Oh my gosh. Yes, these are awful. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well.
Yep. Yep. You got that right.
Anyway, but then you see some ridiculous ones out there that you're just like, I'm sorry. Let's just say that there's some out there that I'm like, yeah.
I'm just always wanting to make sure
Not
that
you.
I'm communicating to you how I feel.
Yes, you are.
So
Communication.
I send it to you as often as possible, so you can.
So that's
know
a form of your communication.
It is a form of my communication.
Instagram Reels.
Yeah,
okay.
because how I'm feeling,
Yes.
I'm able to express that through other people's reels that they have made.
Yeah. So
Directly to you in your DMs. So if I DM
my
you,
DMs.
just
You're the only man that I want in my DMs.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of.
No.
Nope. Okay, we won't tell it then.
I know exactly. This is like, okay, so I think we've told the story before.
Yes,
have we told the story
Yeah,
before?
we told the story before. It was a long time ago.
It's very frustrating, actually. It actually makes me very uncomfortable. But one, this is a great example when you've been married for a while. Like you could just like, I knew exactly what, you didn't even have to say it, but
all I said was speaking
when
of.
we first moved, it's been a while. Like it's
been
like,
a long time.
I think it was the first summer.
It was our
so
first
it was either
summer
3
here.
years or
Yep.
3 years ago?
Yep. 3 summers ago.
I've lost my train of thought.
You received a text message.
I received a text message, and I like looked at my phone, and you get like random numbers all the time.
Oh yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
with my work, I'll get text messages from like lots of different numbers, and so like I pick it up, and it was an inappropriate text message, very inappropriate, and so I like immediately was horrified because I'm like, they did not mean to send it to me. Like what was being implied was that I had essentially been like, not me, but the person that they tried to send it with had been with them. Anyway, I'm not going to say anything else because it's, you get it, right? Anyway, it was so horrifying and disgusting and terrible. And I literally had to like wash my eyeballs and like clean my brain.
But she also was like, I can't live with this
Oh,
on
I
my
had
own.
to show it to Julian. Like, I'm like, you need to see what I just saw because I shouldn't have to be the only person who has been literally scarred. And I had to really be like, no, I do not ever, like, it was a little low key. It was traumatizing
It was
for
terrifying.
me. I got, a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
I got the same exact text message. Oh, hey, it's been a while. Honey, if that girl did not text you back 3 years ago, she is not interested. Stop it. Literally do not be sending those pictures on the internet. Have you guys never seen that movie about the cloud? Whatever. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm very fired up about it because it's horrifying and I had forgotten. I mean, I had somewhat forgotten about it, and now I'm like, ugh.
I'm so sorry.
We joke about it. It's not
100%.
funny though, so don't be sending pictures.
But listen, at least you're completely honest with me. You open up your phone right away and you go, babe,
no, it's just so,
check this
makes
out.
Me so angry.
Here's the thing though with this whole situation. I want to so badly. I just want to send a picture of myself and of my face like this.
Yes,
like,
not anything else, just your face. Be like, yeah, okay.
Hey, big boy.
Dude, stop, please. Okay, we're done. So anyway,
but she won't let me. She won't let me send the picture to just let him know he's definitely texting the wrong person.
We blocked the number completely because I'm like, maybe I didn't block the number last time, but I think I did. Maybe it's just like a scam. I don't know. Anyway,
probably a scam.
It's disgusting.
It's crazy.
That's not what we're talking about today, but that's.
I mean, yes, communication. You completely you completely came to me right away and was held nothing back. Wanted to make sure I knew.
Nope.
Like without hesitation, within seconds. Get off my
She's
water.
About to drink your water. Anyway, so this is a great segue. Sort of. Actually not. No, it's actually not at all. At all, really. But we talk about all the time. And I feel like we're a broken record when it comes to this.
100%.
But talking about communication in marriage. So we're going to talk about it again today. Because, it really, communication, like everything stems from communicate. Not everything, but so much of what you're going to go through in your marriage has a communication aspect in it.
Yeah.
How you're going to handle your finances. What do you have to do? You have to communicate how you're going to parent, like what you're going to do, like with the different emotions and things that come up and your intimacy and everything is a communication thing. Boils down to some form of communication, right? So we're going to talk about that today. Our golden doodle thinks, I don't know what she's doing.
She's a part of the family.
Hilarious. So this is kind of the question I wanted to pose today.
Yeah.
How can you start communicating better, or how can you, where do you start?
Yeah.
If you feel like your marriage communication is a mess, or the communication in your marriage is a mess.
Yeah.
So that's kind of maybe I should rephrase it because I'm pretty sure.
You said it great. Yeah.
Okay. So where do you start if you feel like the communication in your marriage is just a mess right now?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we talk about it, and someone on, you're listening right now, wherever you're at, and maybe it's both of you, maybe it's one of you, and you're like, listen, I would love to communicate with my spouse.
Yeah.
But it's a desire. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, it's so important to take a step back and look at your situation, do a little assessment of your marriage, where your communication is at the moment. You know that there needs to be something that happens to help you be better. But I think it's always important to right away, immediately take a step back and try to discover what that actually is. Because a lot of times we think surface things are the thing, right?
Yeah.
Because surface is what you see, feel, know, and can feel in that moment, right?
Yeah.
But it's typically something that's so much deeper than what's on the surface. So take a step back, evaluate, really look at it.
Yeah.
In this, I'm talking internally. Like if you're the only person who's really wanting to work on it and you're thinking, okay, I want to work on this, take a step back, internally do it. If you're married and you're both, wanting to do it together, then you can take a step back together and have that conversation and say, where have we dropped the ball? Where have we just completely dropped the ball when it comes to our communication?
Yeah. Well, I think it's such an ongoing thing, always changing and evolving and growing in your communication, right? Because you're going to have moments where you're like, ooh, we need to talk about something that's hard, or this doesn't feel right, or whatever it looks like, And so I think and we say this all the time, is really you have to start with you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's can be such a hard pill to swallow, because we're like, no, but they're like this, or they're being defensive, or they won't take responsibility. And here's the thing, those things could all actually be true.
100%.
But what can you really do about that?
Yeah.
You can only change the way you communicate. And so really the first question you have to ask yourself is where is my heart at? How am I communicating?
Yeah. And that's not saying that your spouse is blameless, right?
Oh gosh, no.
You're not saying, only focus on me because I'm the one who's the
no. You might actually not even be the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's so important to start with yourself, because as much as, you want to make the change for your spouse, the only person who can make it is them.
Yeah.
And so focus on yourself.
Yep.
And that's the whole thing. Take a step back, evaluate your entire world within yourself, and go, where can I actually grow first?
Yeah.
And then you can start being the example right away.
Yeah. Well, I think too, and this is this takes so much, I think, humility, and just letting go of your pride, is really just asking yourself, what areas in my life, and how, where's my communication at? How am I communicating? Where am I coming from? All of those things. And that can be really hard. And obviously, we have been together for 19 years and our communication has changed and evolved so much, you know, but when I look back in the beginning of our marriage, like we definitely had some things that we both did that were detrimental to our marriage in the way that we would communicate. I definitely had a tendency to be like really sharp with my words and just kind of come out like, you know, firing, like, and I could say like really mean things, you know, and I'll let you say what you feel like you had a tendency to do because I don't want to fight in front of the people.
Well, I just didn't communicate. Like I just want to even talk about the situation or whatever it is that's going on. I would just keep to myself. I wasn't going to say that one, but that's true. No, I would just not say what's actually going on. And then it would build and all of a sudden I'd be like a mess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you were like spewing it all out there, you know, so we were complete opposites of each other. That's so true
though, because like we definitely have different styles of communication and just all, you know, there's so many things, right? But you have to really start with yourself. Like I couldn't make you talk to me, but I could change how I was approaching the way I talk to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Like something that you do really well is you ask a lot of questions, right?
Well, and I'm very nosy.
You're nosy. You're super nosy.
Very nosy.
But
for the sort of.
No, you're super nosy.
If I want to know. Something that I want to
know. No, we're at a restaurant and we'll be sitting there and she'll be like kind of looking off to the side and I'm like, hey, you can hear their conversation and you listen to everything they're saying, aren't you?
But that's not my fault. Okay, that's not my fault. My brain is literally wired to see and hear like everything.
At all times.
And that's what I've learned about myself. Like I know what's here, behind me, in front of me, like at all times. So like my brain, and Julian can just like look at one thing. I cannot.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse.
We learned this in Bible college a long time ago about men and women, like a huge difference. Like women is like a bunch of wires, just everything's connecting and all going on all cylinders. And then, you know, then obviously it's not the same for everybody, but for the most part, guys are in boxes and we open up one box, we go in there and that's where we're at. And then we go into the next box. And
I literally cannot even imagine what it's like to be like that.
Yeah, it's amazing actually.
Because I like, well, okay, twofold, I'm a woman. And second, like, you know, I do have ADHD. So I naturally like can bounce like bing, 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 bing. And I can be talking, bring up something else, and it's great. I'm just like, keep going. And I talk fast and I know that. That's just me. And so like Julian will just be like sitting there. Like, what are you thinking? Nothing. Like literally how? I am so jealous.
You're not thinking about anything?
I don't think I've ever had a moment in my entire life I haven't been thinking of something. But okay, you know, I digress.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Hold on, just firing on all cylinders and going from one thing to another. Like we'll be having a conversation about one thing. And then I'm not even kidding, no transition, no warning. She starts talking about something else and I'm like, what does that have to do with what we were just talking? And she goes, I've moved on from that.
Yeah, like that was
I moved on from that like 30 seconds ago.
My hair. I know. It's a journey.
It is a journey.
A journey. Oh,
yes, it is.
There we go. Yeah. So you can only change yourself. Okay.
It's true. It's true.
And so kind of something is, what do you, like you, me, anyone, what do you need to let go of or work through to be able to be a better communicator? And that's just something you need to ask yourself. Like, okay, if I sit down and I really think about like, what do I need to either let go of? So maybe it's like, and I'm not, okay, I feel like this could be dangerous if people be like, well, you don't understand. There may be things that can't just be like let go of. They need to be worked through. And there's maybe like some forgiveness or some counseling. So I'm not saying like that kind of stuff. I'm saying the things that maybe you need to let go of that you just keep on bringing up or you keep harboring that are really like affecting the way you communicate all the time, you know? And so like, what are those things? Like, what do you need to work through to be able to have better communication in your marriage? And that's tricky, you know? And some of it may actually not have to do with your spouse. I think that too, and we've talked a lot about this.
So true.
But like, is there a thing that's like from your childhood or that someone else said to you that caused you to communicate in a way that you don't want to communicate that way, but you're just like, it's very triggering to you? you know?
And then it's so easy for your spouse to take offense to those things.
Yeah.
Because they're like, why do you even act like that? I didn't do anything that has to do with anything, you know? And
Yes.
and it can turn into something so much bigger than it needs to be,
Yep.
even though it has nothing to do with them.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, it's something that you probably need to evaluate in your life and try to figure out.
Well, we've had those moments.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm grateful. I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes I would say, and this was a while ago, I remember a very specific time that Julian's not a yeller. I'm not a yeller either. Neither one of us is actually a yeller. But he kind of started raising his voice at me a little bit, like more than his normal voice.
And when we say raise voice, we mean like,
I thought it was
Brittany,
yelling.
listen to me.
And we were young. I mean, I may have been 19 or 20,
Yeah.
so he'd have been 21 or 22. And I just like started crying. And he was like, what, why are you crying? I'm like, you yelled at me. Well, that came more from like childhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't Julian, but see, I felt like he was yelling at me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
I was shook. I'm like, whoa, what is happening?
what is happening?
I better never yell at this girl. Like actually yell at her.
Oh, yeah. So what do you need to let go of or work through? You know, and that's going to be very personal, and it even may be painful.
Yeah.
And it may be related to your marriage, but it may not be. So, and then you take it to the Lord, you know, like, okay, Lord, I need to work through this, or wow, I'm recognizing, and it could come new in your marriage. It could come 20 years into your marriage, and all of a sudden you have this epiphany. It could be because your kids are a certain age and you see something, like, it's crazy what will happen. You're like, oh, that's why I'm like that. Oh my gosh. Maybe that's just me.
No.
But you realize stuff about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about life, though.
Yep.
Like, you're just growing and changing and whatever. But I digress.
But you got to be willing to.
Yes.
You got to be willing to learn
and you
those
can really
things,
only do
grow
that
and
for
change.
yourself. You can be there for your spouse.
Exactly.
But you can only change
Well,
yourself.
you have this concept that you've always used, especially with me. It's called like ducking. Like you would just duck, right? Mm-hmm. Explain that a little bit, because there's times that you knew there was something that needs to change in me, but you know that you couldn't be the one to do it, no matter how much you said something, and the next thing you know, I'm okay. Like things change, but you typically do something. So tell them about that a little bit.
Well, I think here's the thing. Like, this comes with like years of doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And just like opening my big mouth and saying something I shouldn't. But
you would never do that.
I would literally never.
You are an angel.
Yes, I know, straight from heaven. But it's like it is the ducking concept. And I learned it in a Bible study that I did with my mom. We actually talked about it today. And she said that there are times in your life that you are going to have to duck and let the Holy Spirit get them.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to have the wisdom to know when that is and when maybe you need to approach it, or when the Lord's trying to use you to be the one. But there are going to be times where you're just like, Lord, I know I can't be the one who approaches this with them. So I'm going to pray for them and pray about it. And then I'm going to duck and let you come in and get them. Not like, he's not going to knock you out, but like, let him bring that principle to
Might
you,
be what he needs to
or
do.
convict your heart. And here's the thing. I'm going to be real honest with you. I still do it sometimes, but I don't have to prove. I just will just let things be, and then I know, like, okay, that. And I'm sure you do it with me too. I don't know, but
like every day.
I am like constantly duck goose. You know what I mean? I'm just like constantly ducking and weaving.
No, in all reality, you probably do it 90 more times.
Just different.
Than me.
It's just different.
90 to 10.
I don't know. But yeah.
But it's so important that you do that, because you literally cannot be the changing point for your spouse.
No.
You can't be the one who makes them make the difference. They have to be the one to do it. So I think it's important that you communicate, maybe like have those conversations where you're able to go, hey, you've really been struggling with this.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to tell you what to do. And you actually allow God to do it in them and themselves.
Absolutely.
Like, it helps a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, here's the thing. I don't remember what I was going to say. I don't know.
Hey, that's great. That's great.
So in an internal check, like I wrote this down, cause like I said, if you're working on it together, you can ask yourselves these questions, but it might also be like, hey, I'm the only one who's going to be working on communication, and I'm really hoping that my spouse will join me, but they may not in the beginning. Right. And so like, these are just kind of questions you can ask yourself. And the first one would be like, am I approachable? Like, can they approach me with tough conversations? Or am I super defensive? Or did that hit? I ducked. Did you feel it? I'm just kidding.
Preach, girl. Preach.
But like, I mean, being defensive is like natural. Like, we don't want to be wrong.
Oh, for sure.
It's natural for others more than others.
She points at me.
No, I didn't. I just went like
it's natural. You go like, it's natural for others than it is for others.
But I can say that now. But I wouldn't have said that like 5 years ago.
For sure.
Or before that. Or maybe like last week. But I'm kidding.
Probably.
I'm kidding.
You're
but
just
like,
full of jokes today.
I know. I'm just like on top of my game. Like, am I approachable? You know, because like being defensive or stonewalling or being passive aggressive, like, are you acting like that? Or are you quick to just be like rude, like say something mean, you know, or cut them down, or like, I didn't do that, like, which would be defensive.
Yeah.
You know, but how are you responding when they bring something that makes you uncomfortable?
So true.
Am I approachable? And opposite of that, approachable in the sense of like just their day to day. Like, are you listening?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. I think I'm listening.
Yeah, I was kind of giving you like a you could take.
You want me to do the next one?
Yeah, but like I was gonna say active listening, but actually the next question isn't that.
Yeah, it isn't.
But you can ask the next one.
Can I?
Yeah.
Am I ready?
I think so.
I just want to make sure we're communicating correctly here.
Yeah. We have notes, but you know, it's also a real life podcast.
No, so true. So true. Well, another question is, do I need to apologize for anything, right? And a lot of times there's definitely things we need to apologize for. And even if it was unintentional, I think a lot of times it is unintentional. It's just maybe there was a moment where you were like deep in your work and you may have snapped at your spouse because they asked a question and these faces.
I don't think that's actually happens. Sometimes I could just tell, like, I'm gonna come back later.
I'm gonna come back in 30 minutes and see where we're at.
Yeah.
But you've learned so well. But listen, it's important that we evaluate inside of us.
Yeah.
Is there something I need to apologize for? Because most likely there will be something that you should probably go, hey, I'm so sorry that I talked to you that way.
Yeah.
I wasn't attacking you. I promise. Like, I just was in the moment of what was going on in the situation. And what that does is it clears the air, you know?
Yes.
And because when something like that happens, your spouse could take on some type of offense that might put a cloud in the air, you know? And so when you go and apologize for those things that may not feel like a big deal to you, it's a huge deal to your spouse because they're the ones who were affected by, you know, the way you were talking. So is there anything I need to apologize for?
Well, and like you said, like, I think earlier in our marriage, we weren't very good at that maybe, or maybe we just didn't recognize it. I don't know.
Didn't recognize it.
But I think what happens, and we've talked about this before, is like it just piles up, and maybe not just like grievances, but like a sharp response or whatever it is. And what we don't see, but if you really could see it, there'd be like a wall between you and your spouse. You know what I mean? And you can like, sometimes you can actually feel that. I feel like that tension can be like viable. Like you can feel it, but you're like, oh, there's tension. And it just feels like, you know,
like,
that
what am I supposed to do right now? Oh, I know
you
that feeling. All right.
I don't know why he thinks he feels that. No, I'm just kidding. But you build it like it's like a wall.
Yeah.
But if you're just like quick to be like, ooh, you know what? That didn't sound very nice. I'm really sorry. That wasn't my intention. It just like helps keep it like broken down.
Yeah. Or like when you come to me later and you say, hey, I just wanted to like talk to you about this. You kind of hurt my feelings when this happened, right? Yeah. I could respond with, well, I didn't do anything wrong. You know, that's like probably the most common response.
Yeah.
And I'm very guilty of it. But I would say the most important thing to do is go, oh my gosh, I am so sorry that I made you feel that way. That was not my intentions. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's the best response because you're validating how they feel. So, you know, and it doesn't mean that they're right or you're, you know, giving them power or anything like that. You're just validating how they feel in that moment, and you're letting them know, like, that's not my heart. I wouldn't do that. It's not manipulative. It's just straight up. Like, I actually was in a weird moment and you caught me at the wrong time and I my response was not okay, and I'm
Yeah.
so sorry, and like I'll make sure that I work on that.
Yeah.
And then your spouse is going to learn how to read the room, more and more. The longer you're married, the longer you can read the room, and like now's
Yeah, it's
probably
not
not
the
the time to say anything about this.
Well, and I think that's a great you'll learn this if you have kids, you'll know this too, most likely.
Oh Lord.
And or whatever it may be, like there are certain times that you cannot have that conversation, and so you have to decide like we're going to keep communicating in a kind way, even though there might be something that needs to be discussed. And you kind of get to have that choice, because there's times where I'm like, we need to have this conversation, but we cannot have it right in this moment because we have 2 younger children and it's not appropriate, and we don't have the time to sneak off and have the conversation.
For sure.
And so it's like, that's kind of part of it too.
Yeah. And
so reading the room and, let me look at my notes. How do you make people feel? How do you make the people around you feel?
So true.
And obviously this is communication more with like body language, but sometimes it's like, you want to be kind of like the approach. This really goes with being approachable.
Yeah,
but like, how am I making you feel? Am I listening to you? Like, am I paying attention? Do you feel like you can talk to me? And then I guess like your trigger response.
Well, so when it comes to that, how do you make me feel? Like if I'm coming to you and I'm wanting to have a conversation about, my day, and I'm like, maybe I need to vent and I need to tell you like just what's gone on, and I just need someone to bounce the ideas off of or whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to you and you're like not engaged and you have your phone and you're kind of like looking at your phone and kind of paying attention to me, like immediately right in that moment, I'm not going to feel good. Like it's going to make me go, she doesn't care. Mm-hmm. That's another way of how do you make people feel is with
like that you care about what they're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. And then just really like just kind of doing that internal check, right? Like do an internal check. Where are you at? Because that's all you can really control. Mm-hmm. And then just like not underestimating the power that your words hold.
Yes.
No.
Are you okay, Nala? Yeah, but your words have so much
power. And like you really have such a beautiful opportunity to speak into your spouse's life and call out the things that you see in them. Yeah. And even if maybe they aren't participating in that, like it will shift the atmosphere of your marriage. It may take time. Like I'm not going to say you're going to just like wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden you're like, ah.
Yeah.
But like the way it shifts your spouse, the way that they see themselves, the way that they're like, oh wow, like that was really nice what they said to me today, or whatever that looks like. The power of your words, like
so
they hold actual power.
Yeah, and more power than you can ever imagine. I remember like when we first got married, and it was so like lighthearted to me. But later on in our marriage, she told me the truth of what it did to her. And literally, you know what I'm talking about, but literally all the time, just as a joke, just because like I felt like I was punching through the ceiling, way out of my league. And so like just made a joke about it all the time. And I would just always say like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. And then I would wait a couple seconds and go, I mean, but it was a joke. It was just playful.
I mean, to be fair, I was like 18 and insecure, very insecure.
Totally. And so, but even something like that, which doesn't seem like it's a big deal, like later on in our marriage, I mean, when I say later on, I mean like a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you.
A couple of years ago, she finally was like, you remember when you would say this? I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that's so funny. And she's like, yeah, it wasn't funny at all. Like it actually affected me. And I started to think that maybe I wasn't good enough, or I was, all these things. And I was like, and I literally was like, oh my God, that is the saddest thing you've ever told me. I cannot believe you waited this long to tell me the truth. Okay. You should have told me at the very beginning.
I mean, it's like when you told me you didn't like my short hair. Now,
people, yeah.
Now you see this, okay?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to lie to you.
He likes my long hair. Anyway, power of your words. Well, and the great thing is like it shifts the atmosphere of your marriage. Yeah. Like when you say a positive thing, when you come with like, hey, I've seen you working so hard. Like you're doing so great, or you're such an amazing dad, or you're such an amazing husband, or thanks for doing that today. Like it's so simple, but it's so powerful, and then you bring that in with your kids and just helps shift the atmosphere because, it does. Words are important.
Well, and just look at the way that your kids respond when you encourage them and you love, like,
I just love my kids. They're just so cute.
Like Gabby, I will literally look at her, and if she does something like awesome, like she does something that's good, and I'm like, I am so proud of you. Good job. She tells this all the time. She goes, it makes my tail wag.
Which is her way of saying like
that makes me so happy. It makes me feel so good.
Loved,
yeah.
You know?
And seeing that response of them, like they are able to express how it makes them feel faster and better than adults do, you know? And that's what I love about children is that they teach us how to express ourselves in a more authentic way. And when the older you get, the less you're going to maybe express it that way, but that it does the same thing. Like I've been working out lately, right? And just trying to, you know, we talked about this before. We know I'm in and out all the time. But right now I'm lifting weights, and I feel like my shirts are getting tighter, and I'm being consistent. So proud of you. Yeah. Thank you. Oh my gosh, my tail's wagging.
You're welcome. But getting some muscles.
When she'll like grab my arm, like, oh, babe. What it does to me, I'm like, I'm gonna keep working out. You know, I'm gonna keep going. That's because the power of her words. It really is. It's the power of her words of like, you're looking good. Like without me asking for it. Maybe I'm just walking in the room. She's like, whoa, your shirt's looking a little tight up there on the chest. And I'm like, yeah.
Calm down.
But it does something to your brain. Like it actually makes your brain light up in a way that makes you want to continue doing good.
It's true. Very true.
Yeah.
So power of your words. And so a couple things kind of just like as we kind of bring it to a close. Is okay. So I have on here, like, if it's just one of you, but it could be both of you, but if it's one of you and you're like, again, it's just going to be me. Cool. These are some things like you can be doing just practical, easy, like such low hanging fruit. And that would just be like active listening, which you kind of hit on, like not being on your phone. Like, so the hard part about life is that so much of it is so practical and easy, but so hard. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that tension between I can do this, but why is it so hard? You know? But just being an active listener, just like looking you in the eye.
It's
even if you aren't interested,
it's a lost art.
But you should be interested because they're your spouse. Like maybe they're talking about something that you're like, I have no idea what this means.
Oh my gosh. It happens so much in our marriage where I'm literally talking about something and she looks at me and she's like, that's awesome, babe.
You do like a lot of like, you know, like graphics.
Yeah. I'm a graphic designer,
video, and build websites and like all that.
And I'm explaining to her, I'm talking.
I literally cannot update my phone.
But you're so good at looking at me in the eyes and listening, and then I'm like, okay, she listened. She heard what I had to say.
Because I really do care. I don't always understand it. He's like, I found this really cool feature. You want to see it? I'm like, yeah. I don't know how to do it, but it sounds great.
Yep. So true. Active listening. And then putting, like I said earlier, putting away your phone and like having that intentional looking in the eyes, letting them know that there's no distraction. You're all I'm listening to right now. Like that is huge for your active listening and being able to understand and hear what your spouse is saying. Yeah. And they will feel more validated the more you just look at them in the eyes and have no distractions.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and just like, I think a lot of times, you know, like, what do we talk about? Like, if you're in that place right now, you're like, I don't even like know what to talk about. You said this, like, just focusing, you know, like, let's be honest. Most people like to talk about themselves, right? I mean,
100% they do.
Like, we're not mad when we get an opportunity to be like, oh, let me tell you.
Well, so listen, we were at a coffee shop not too long ago, and this couple was on their first date. And obviously, we're very nosy, so we were listening. And
now we are, so it's not just me. Yeah, he thinks it's just me, but like, if I get off the phone, he's like, "What did they say? What did your mom say today?"
I'm super nosy.
What does that text say? Why are you in a text feed with your mom and your sister by yourself?
I'm so jealous.
And I'm like, what? So like, don't even play. Don't even.
But they were on their first date, and it was so funny. I was listening to it, and all I heard was him talking about himself. And he didn't ask her one question about her and what she's interested in and what does she like. And I'm telling you guys, if you're dating and you're trying to figure it out, just talk about her. Like, just look at her and ask her questions and let her ask you questions. And don't just talk about yourself all the time, because it's going to get old really, really fast.
Right? focus on them. Like I said, ask questions, and then affirmations, right? And acknowledgement. So like I was saying before, things that you have been seeing in them. And let me give you a little tip. Maybe it's things that you want to see in them.
Ooh, yeah. Like me working out.
Like, okay, that's actually a really great example.
It's
like,
valid.
You have some goals, and so like maybe you're not there yet, but I'm speaking to you as if that's where you're at.
Yeah, my goal is to look like Thor. Like that's my goal, right? We're getting there.
I love that for me.
And not No, and right now I currently look like lazy Thor. I don't know if you saw that one, like
okay, it's not quite like that, but that is funny. But it is not quite like that.
You're right. It doesn't look like that.
You really have to be sticking out your belly. And sometimes, little secret hack here, speak what you want to see.
Yes.
You know, like you said with working out, like speak, like, yeah, are you working towards it? But like speak over the way you see it. You know what I mean? Like, and you do this for me all the time, like with my mental health. And we've talked a lot about this. Like you speak who you know I am, not like maybe how I'm feeling in that moment. True. And so it's so important to speak those affirmations and then acknowledgements. Yeah. Just like acknowledging the things that they do. And like, thank you for working hard. Thanks for taking the trash out. Thanks for picking up the kids. Like, thanks for making dinner. Like, they can be simple things, you know?
And the more, the merrier.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Honestly.
Tell me all the things I do.
But honestly, like
it's
you can't go wrong with thanking and loving them through everything. Like like you said, taking out the trash, okay, but it actually makes a difference. It helps me remember. Yeah. Man, she really loves it when I do this.
Yes, and then they'll do it.
That's right.
Let's see. Keeping them. Oh, you talked about this. Like keeping them updated. Yeah. I know that seems silly, like thing to say, but
no,
like,
that's so real. Making them feel like they're a part of your life, because when you're married, especially when you've been together for a long time, you have kids. There's a lot going on. It's easy to get disconnected in what's going on in each other's lives. Yeah. And so I think it's important to really like find time to update them on what's going on and where you're at, you know, and especially when one's busy and you know the other one's doing other things. Like it's important just to look at and be like, hey, I just want to let you know, like next week I'm going to be gone this day. I have a meeting here. Yeah. I'm going to be doing this. Yeah. A few of the guys want to get together, you know, and she's more likely to be like, yeah, go with the guys. Like, that's so awesome, you know, because I'm communicating and I'm not just springing it on her at the last second. Yeah. But just keep them up to date with what's going on in your life. And I feel like that'll be a huge difference maker for you. Yeah.
Something we do like to help the communication, not just in our marriage, but like with our kids too, is we just call it like dinner chat, I guess you could call it. And you can kind of do it however you want, but we do like, what was the best part of your day? Some people, like we've done before, where we've done like home run, like what was the best part, and then like base hit, where like what was solid, and then what was like a strikeout. Our kids just like to do what's the best part of your day. And then we'll ask them like, hey, were there any parts of your day that maybe like were sad or that you didn't love? Usually they say no, which I love, but it kind of just is an easy way to bring it into the whole family and check in, like, how was your day? What was the best part of your day? You know what I mean? Super simple.
And it's easy chess because we're sitting down together anyways, having dinner. So it's a great conversational piece.
Sitting down for dinner can be really tricky.
For sure.
Do it in the car.
When you pick up them
even if you're running through the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. Like if you're eating a meal together, ask what was the best part of your day. It's a great way of like, while we're eating, what was the best part of your day today? Yeah. You know, and it just like even teaches them how to be good communicators and ask people like, what was the best part of your day? I mean, our little one now, if someone's over for dinner, we're at someone else's house for dinner, she'll literally be like, okay,
time to talk about our best day.
So it's like, she just thinks if you're eating, you should be talking about the best part of your day. So real. And then like, you know, these are things you could do even if your spouse maybe isn't participating yet. Yeah. But if both of you are participating, you know, and you're like both listening, you're like, yes, we're going to do this. Yeah. Do daily check-ins, which is like, what was the best part? But maybe a little more intent, like, hey, like what's going on? Like, how was work? Or, you know, anything exciting today?
Yeah. Yeah. Asking the questions, is there anything I can do to help you?
Yeah. And I'll ask like, is there anything I can do to help? Even like with his work, I know there's probably not, but just like, you know, so that I can be like, hey, if there's anything I can do to help.
Well, even like, because work gets hectic sometimes, my office becomes a mess and
I'll just like clean it up.
She'll just come and like clean it up. I'm like, oh, what a blessing. Like it's such a blessing. And but we're able to have that communication with each other so fast and so easy. You can also set up check-ins with each other. Like if you need to be more intentional and you actually have to like schedule it out, put it on the calendar and say, okay, every week at this time, we're going to go for a walk, or we're going to go to dinner. We're going to set this time up that we can actually check in with each other. Yeah.
Well, it's so great because I think a lot of times, and like we like to do like walk and talks and just like go for a walk and talk. That way it's like, hey, we're working out and we're able to talk. But it's amazing what like a good just talk with your spouse can like just do for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I realize, and this is the thing, I know there's some of you right now, they're like, listen, we're barely talking. Okay. And when we're talking, it is not good. Yeah. And I like totally hear you. But the goal and what our heart is to like give you some practical ways that you can go, okay, you know what? This week, I'm just going to start by speaking kindly to my spouse. I'm just going to say nice things. Yeah. Or I'm going to say, hey, I'm sorry for that. Yeah. Like, and it's going to take time. And I think that's really hard is we want things to be quick. Like that's just our human nature. It's the culture we live in. It's true. We are like the generation that's like a microwave, right? We're like, hey, that should take 30 seconds. Hey, this should be a minute. But building communication in your marriage takes time.
It does.
And it takes continued time and continued work and forgiveness and just, you have to do it.
So real.
But it'll change everything.
So real.
Because communication, like I said in the beginning, everything stems from that. Yeah. Like if you're struggling with something, like you have to communicate, when you want to talk about parenting, like communication, when you're talking about finances, communication, intimacy, communication. And so it's like, you got to work on the communication.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Well, we really hope that today was life-changing for you.
Life-changing.
But communication is key, and we say that all the time.
We do.
And it's so important for you to have strong and healthy communication with each other. And like we said earlier, you can start on your own if your spouse isn't there with you. Yeah. If you're doing it together, work together to work really hard to create strong communication with each other. And I just truly believe that the more you talk, the more you communicate, the more you spend time setting up intentional times to really communicate and talk about your day and talk about how you can be helping and apologizing right away, doing internal checks every single day of your life, the more that your relationship is going to grow and be strong. Yeah. And let's focus on that this week, as you're going out through this week and before the next podcast comes out, be practicing that kind of stuff. Practice how I can be the better version of myself so that I can be the light to my spouse. Or if you're working together, be working on how you can be communicating and talking to each other even better.
And if you're like, hey, I really need to dig deeper into communication, we're going to put in the show notes. We have had so many episodes about communication styles, about how to have forgiveness, how to have boundaries, how to break down bitterness in your marriage. And so we'll put those below so you can listen to those and hopefully get more wisdom. And we just want the communication in your marriage to be something that you are proud of and that helps your marriage be the best that it possibly could be.
Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much for being here at Young, Dumb, and in Love. Make sure you like and subscribe and become a part of this community. If you have any questions or you have any things that you want us to go over when it comes to marriage, don't hesitate to ask. You can put it down in the messages, in the comments, and then we can get back to you. But we love you guys, and we hope that you have a great week.